Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Today I'm going to be sharing a masculine layout of our son on the archery range using some simple cut files from Not Just for Boys Kit Club. I'm going to be using a few components from the Brilliance Kit today. This is the September Limitless Kit filled with so much more than I'm showing here. I shared all the lovely items that come in this kit in a recent video. If you missed it, I will add a link above so that you can take a look at what comes inside this kit. These are photos of our son on the archery range, and I felt like the pattern paper with the lakes and some of that distressed foundations paper are perfect for these photos. I've also cut out some tags from mixed media paper using the Debut Tags cut file. I'll be adding some color and textures to these using the stencil that came in the kit. I've also grabbed the die cuts that came with the Brilliance Kit because there are some additional tags in there that I want to use. I've selected a pattern for the background that has a frame printed around it and some watercolor wash rectangles, and I'm going to use those above and below my photos. I'm creating a vertical layout, and these are going to help with the placement of the items that I'm using. My photos have been placed on some white cardstock, and I'm going to back them with a wood grain pattern that I have left over from the Auburn Autumn Days kit. Behind that, I'm adding some layers of that lake pattern paper that I've started tearing and rolling. If you add a little bit of water to the edges with a water brush, it makes it so much easier to control where the tear is, and while the paper fibers are wet, it's much easier to roll. Now, as I'm rolling these edges, I am creating some little V's that will create open spaces for some of the elements that I'm going to add behind this paper. I'm going to dig through that ephemera pack and pull out a few items that I want for the page. I am going to line the sides of the photos with tags. Some of these are going to be ones that I cut using that Debut cut file, and others are going to be from this die cut pack. I'm trying to arrange the tags on my page so that the words and patterns and colors show. I'm also going to cut a few of these tags into two parts so that they look like they span the width behind the photos. Now that I have a general idea of where these items are going to go, I'm going to add a little texture and color to those cut file tags. I have laid these out on a silicone mat, and I'm smushing some of the vintage photo ink onto my glass board. I'm going to spritz the ink and the tags with a little bit of water. Then I'm going to use a paintbrush to add some color to the tags. This is actually going to be kind of a messier coloring process. I'm not really trying to focus on a specific area of color. I just want that ink to kind of flow across the tag. You could also add color by adding some ink onto some acetate and smushing it onto the tags, or you could drag the tags through that ink color over there on the glass board. Once I have added all of the color to my background, I'm going to spritz these again, and then I'm going to dry them a bit with my heat tool. The water is going to react with the ink and create some lighter pools of color on the tags. After I dried the tags, I added some splatter in the background. These splatters are going to be a little bit darker and add to the distressed look on those tags. I'm going to dry these one more time with my heat tool, and then I'll add some texture with a stencil. I want to bring in some of the gray and green from the pattern paper to these tags. So I'm going to be using a grit paste in a crypt color. I'm also going to be using the Nuvo dots that came in the kit, along with that diamond stencil that came in that Limitless kit. The grit paste has almost a sand-like consistency, so it's going to bring in some natural tones to this page, And the texture is much like the area where the archery range is located, so that element adds to the memory of the page. The Nuvo dots were a little bit more difficult for me to stencil. I wish I had mixed them with some paste to make them a little bit thicker because they did end up seeping under the stencil, but I think the messiness fits the design of the page and most of this stenciled image will be hidden. I just like the idea of bringing in some more of this blue-green color to the page by adding it to these tags. Off camera, I adhered the pattern paper strip to the page, and now I'm working on placing these tags down once again. After the color was added to the tags, I decided to move them into different locations. I realized that my original design wasn't quite working out. For a few minutes, I fussed with the tags, and then I realized that I didn't need this many on the page. I wanted a little bit of breathing room and some white space around the tags, so I removed the one with the arrows and the one that said Explore. This gave me a nice visual triangle with the phrases and the colors of the tags. Now, some of these tags are cut into two parts so that it looks like it spans the length of the photo. I'm using a T-ruler to help me line up some of the pieces because I want to make sure that that tag looks like it goes all the way across. Each time I create a layout like this, my goal is to inspire you to use a kit in a new way or to learn a new technique. If you're new here, I would love it if you tapped that subscribe button and let me know in the comments that you are new so that I can welcome you. Now that these tags are in place, I want to add some circles to the page. These reels remind me of the cam on a bow. I'm going to tuck a large one at the top and add a second one in between some of those tags. In the ephemera pack, there are these little phrases and circles and arrows, and I like how these go with the other colors on the page and allow me to add some more circular shapes. I'm going to take these apart and layer the different colors together. Now I want to try to figure out what to do with the title. I have these pieces in the ephemera pack that look like envelopes, but I think I just want to use the triangle shape. I'm going to cut this portion off the envelope and place it above the photos. I did add a little bit of that ink around the edges, just like I did with the other elements, to bring in some of that color from the tags. Now I'm going to add a few little phrases here and a tab to hold my journaling card, and then I'm going to go off camera and tack a few of these items in place. Now, not only did I adhere the items down, I also added a little bit of stitching around the reels and a little bit of texture with some zigzag stitching on two of the tags. You all know how much I love adding stitching to my layout, so of course I had to add a little bit to this one. I am using some thin and thick foam tape to adhere those word circles in place, and I'm adding the arrows to point towards the photos. These were taken a few years ago when our youngest had just finished high school. We would often go out to this archery range as a family or with friends and practice. The range itself has 15 different targets with stands and perches and blinds, and as you can see there, he is standing on top of one for the photo. Now, once I had laid all of the elements down on the layout, the title was something I began to struggle with. I wanted to use one of the phrases from the ephemera pack, but it just didn't look right. So I decided to dig through my alphabet stickers for something different. I thought about the time in our life when these photos were taken, and I wanted to use the phrase aim true, which not only refers to our son with his bow, but this moment in his life when big changes were coming. So I'm going to go ahead and stick down the letters for this title, and then I'm going to add a few more elements to the page and show you the finished layout. Here is that finished page I created using the Brilliance Kit. I did add a few dots to the page to finish it off, and I love how they bring in a few more pops of green-blue to the layout. I was inspired by the lake paper in the kit to create a page of our son with his bow, and it turned into an awesome page full of layers and textures. I'm going to show a few close-ups of this page so that you can see all the details. When I started to design this page, I had no idea what direction I was going to go. Never did I expect this page to turn into such a fun project full of layers and texture. Now, if you are one who enjoys pinning to inspiration boards, I have added photos of this layout on the Not Just for Boys Kit Club blog and on my website for you to use. I want to thank you for joining me for another scrapbook project. I hope that this gave you a few ideas for using this new September kit from Not Just for Boys Kit Club and inspired you to try something new. If you have any questions about the project or the supplies listed below, feel free to post those in the comments. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.